Welcome to the needle felted octopus kit tutorial. Let's see what is inside here. Everything you need for this project is in here. First we have all of the wool that you'll need for this project. We're going to be using these pipe cleaners for the inner core armature. This is just a needle felting mat to protect your needle. Some finger guards. I don't use the finger guards, but if you'd like to, put them on your non-dominant hand. And you also get 2 needles. We have a blue and a yellow. The blue is your starter needle and your yellow is your finishing needle. We're going to take our pipe cleaners, make sure that they're all even, and then find the middle. And then we're going to twist the middle just enough so that they do not move. And we're going to evenly separate them out. These are going to be the arms and legs of your octopus. Throughout this tutorial and throughout making the project, you're always going to make sure that your legs are equally distanced apart. We're going to start with our wool. And set aside the yellow. That's going to come a little later. There's 2 different whites. The black wool is just for the eye, so you don't need that much. But you have carded wool, which is going to look a lot messier. And we also have wool roving, which looks like pretty much like long hair. We're going to use the wool roving first. I'm going to take a section and we're going to wrap the middle and get started on this body. As you're wrapping the middle, you're going to try to go through each of the legs. I did speed this up because it's a little tedious. As you do it on your own, you might find that the fibers get tangled into the legs. That happened to me too, so just be patient with it. This entire project is very time consuming and it just requires patience. As long as you go slow, this is not a fast project at all, you'll be fine. So as I'm doing here, I'm just wrapping, making a middle body core by wrapping and intertwining each in between each of the legs. After you do that, you're just gonna give it a little bit of a stab so that none of the wool goes anywhere and unravels. Again, just making sure that each of your legs are equal distance apart as you're doing this too. So each side, and I caution you here, especially with this mat, this was intended so that you protect your needle. If you stab on a hard surface, your needle might break. So never stab into the mat. All right, so now we're going to start to wrap each leg. So you're going to take a section of your wool, start by putting the wool into the body and then wrapping around each leg. Again, this takes patience. You're just going to wrap best you can. Like when I wrap, I kind of pull ever so slightly just so that I have a nice solid wrap around each leg. If you find that you didn't grab enough wool and your leg feels a little too thin for your liking, then grab some more wool and wrap again. Now this is a very long piece that I used on this particular leg, so I was able to kind of get a little bit of a double wrap. So this is a good size for my liking. As you get to the end, the tip of the leg, I like to cover the tip end. And then you're just going to just give it a slight stab into the body so that those fibers adhere. And then I go into the actual leg. What I'm doing here, I'm going to do for each of the 8 legs. So just stabbing so that I'm adhering those fibers. Again, I'm not stabbing into the mat. I'm being aware of where my needle is and just stabbing the fibers so that they adhere to each other for each of the legs. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be doing this for each of the legs. Same process, same everything. I tend to look at the edge of my projects instead of looking straight down at it. So any kind of lumps and bumps that I see, I can see better if I'm looking at the edge, or what I call also the horizon of the project. It gives me a much better visual of my lumps and bumps that I can just kind of stab in and smooth out my project. And as you can see, I'm stabbing and I'm rotating so that I get all sides and angles of the leg, so I can really get a really nice tight process with the stabbing and the felting, getting all those fibers intertwined so I have a nice stable leg. I am stabbing mostly at the middle, but I'm gonna start the tip, the end of the leg, and I'm gonna round the top. As you can see, when I'm stabbing, I'm kind of stabbing so that I can kind of round the top, and that's basically to just cover the edge of the wire, the tip of the wire of the leg, so it's not pointy or sharp. Also, if you find that it's unraveling, just like what I was finding with mine, just twist it around and then just continue stabbing. There's so much that that you can kind of fix with felting. So just stab. There you go. Just lots of stabbing so that we can really intertwine those fibers. Just keep doing this process until you are satisfied with how your octopus leg and arm is. And then just continue that same process with each of the legs. And here's mine done. You can pause here so that you can finish your legs and get to this point with all of your legs. Now we're going to take a thin strip of fiber, maybe 3-4 inches long, and just loosely wind it around 2 of your fingers, We're going to make 2 of these for each of the leg parts. This is what I call the skin between each of the legs of the octopus legs. So first we need to make all of these so that we're ready to go on to the next point. Now these go in between each of the legs, and you're going to just sandwich them and stab so that they adhere to each other. Again, this is the skin. It's going to look weird at first, probably not going to look like anything until we get all of these little pieces on each of the legs. So we're going to do the same process for each of the legs, where you're just stabbing, making sure that each section is covering that little body part that we made in the beginning, and it's covering the leg. And it should really only be about an inch, inch and a half wide. You don't want it to be too wide, or else you lose your legs. So this process is going to be for each of the legs. And again, you're going to make sure that each of the distances between each leg are equal. So if it's getting too wide, bring those legs, pinch those legs in and stab. So you're going to do this for each of the parts. So you're going to need at least 2 per each part, and this is what it looks like when it's done. Kind of like a pancake in the middle of the octopus body. And then again, make sure that each of your legs are equal distance apart. Again, you can pause here so that you can finish those sections and then get to this part. After you have those skins in between each of the legs, we now need to start stabbing in. So I'm making a V so that I can kind of see the leg outline through the skin a little bit, but then the middle part I'm making almost like a U shape. So I'm going to be doing this process continuously, where I'm stabbing one side and then flipping it over, stabbing the other side, so that I get that V shape and then the U shape at the edge of the skin. This kind of really kind of defines the octopus shape, the octopus body. I made an octopus one time without the skin, and it just did not look right at all. So the skin really gives octopus its individuality. It's that U. So you're going to do this for each of the in between of the leg skins. This is another time-consuming part. I know the legs were a time-consuming part. This is another time-consuming part. There's a lot of time challenges in this project. Just be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process. Again, you're making a V so that those legs, the inner skin of the legs, are really defined. And then you're going to stab into the edge so that it creates a U, a dip. And keep doing that for each of the inside of the legs. The more you stab, the more time you give to these, the shape really starts to come out more. Just be patient. Each of these processes really kind of challenges you as far as, is this getting anywhere? Just keep going. So I've got 2 done. in what, about 3 minute, 5 minute time. And there's 8 of them. So same process. So you can continue on. I'm only going to do 3 of them for this demonstration, and then you can pause the video and keep going with yours. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what it should look like. We're both flattening and shaping the skin of this octopus. So this shape should look the same all around. Just keep going. And this is pretty much what it looks like when you're done. And again, you can pause it and continue on and then come back. All right, now we're going to take this core, the other white wool. It looks a little matty, it looks a little messy. This is what's called core wool. And we're going to take about a palm size and just pull it apart. And we're going to wrap it kind of tight. This is now the beginning of the head and the body. So wrap it in an oval, and I'm wrapping and I'm kind of like pulling the ends in, and then I'm going to do a little bit of needle stabbing because I want it to firm up a little bit. This is just the head part. The head part is going to be firmer than the body part. So firm this up a little bit, get it into a nice identifiable octopus head shape. This is what this head shape is. That big bulbous brain head, alien head. What really makes it look like a intelligent species. It is a very intelligent species. I love octopuses. I think they are one of the most intelligent sea animals out there. So we want to kind of round the edges, at least one. We want one nice round edge. So pay attention to that shape. And to shape your core, you're stabbing and then you're turning, stabbing and turning, and paying attention to where you stab so that you can get a nice shape out of it. You're not staying in one spot for too long, and you're stabbing in places where you want to shape. So stab, shape, turn. It's kind of how this is going. And we want an oval shape for the head, or that alien head. So we're just stabbing. And the more you stab, the firmer your piece of core starts to get. You actually feel it right in your hands. So this is feeling like a soft sponge. That's actually a pretty good firmness for now. All right, now we're going to take another that's about half of the size of your palm. And we're just going to roll it. We're not going to stab this one. We're going to roll it into an oval again, tucking in the sides and just rolling it. We don't need it to be as big. It's not going to be as big, especially if you're only using half. Okay, but we don't want to stab it yet. We're going to stab it into the body that we already have. We're going to place it in the middle, of the body that you've already have established. And we're going to adhere it by just stabbing. Now I start most of the time the end first, just so that I can um, get it to stop moving. So I'm just stabbing the edges and then stabbing the middle and start. The shape that I want is more of a circle. Now, the placement of this oval, I like to place it so that I have two legs in front. Because this is going to be the main head. So I'm just repositioning so that I have two legs that are completely in the front, directly in the front of the head. So we have the body getting adhered into, or the head body adhered into the main body base with two legs. This is kind of important with the two legs. I mean, I guess you can have one leg, but octopuses usually have a leg on either side of its face. So this is kind of like the shape that we're trying to get into. Now that body needs to get a little smaller, so I'm going to stab a little bit more and shape it down. It'll shrink down the more that I stab. I'm keeping in mind that I want to keep those two legs right in front of the head. So I'm just really shaping it, really. It doesn't need to be too high, but you don't want it to flatten. So that's why I'm not going into the middle too much. I'm just kind of giving it an overall shape so that it can really get in there. With core wool, you don't have to stab as much as if you're using roving. Once I have that shape established, now I'm going to attach the head. And I'm placing it right in the front so that those two legs are directly in the front of my head. And I'm just attaching that round brain head right into the core of the body of the octopus. Now I'm just stabbing it everywhere so that it really attaches really well into that core body. To get an even more solid attachment and to smooth out any seams, I grab some extra core wool. Just pull it apart a little bit, and then I just place it right where my seams are, and that will smooth out any kind of seams that might still be visible. And the more you stab, the more the shape really starts to come about. You want some definition with the body and the legs. You want to see some definition of the legs going into the body. So once I have that head really attached to the body, I am going to concentrate on making sure that I have a shape, a nice shape going. And you'll see that throughout the video. So I'm just making sure that I have a nice smooth transition. I have no seams, and I'm really just getting some of that hair into, not the hair, sorry, the fibers, smoothing it out. So any other kind of projects that you have and you have a lot of seams in your project, just do this technique where you're taking a little bit of your fiber, you're pulling it apart a little bit, and you're putting it right onto your seams. And that little bit of fiber kind of hides the seams. It just blends right into your seams. And you have a nice smooth transition. And I am holding my project instead of the mat, mostly to show you guys on video. if I was doing this on my own, I probably would be felting a lot more on the mat. But I'm doing this so that you see a little bit more close up what I'm doing here. I'm just shaping the head a little bit more, making sure that it has a really nice um, attachment to the body. And it's nice and firm. Don't want to go too firm. Now I'm just looking it over, looking at seams, looking what I need to do. I did see some seams, so I'm going to take some more and do that technique that I told you about. And I'm just going to fill in some of those seams just so that you don't see a big glob of fiber mound just sitting there. This is going to smooth out your seam. That's all I'm doing. It's a really nice technique to get a really nice smooth look to your projects. And core is perfect for working on getting your shapes together because of its messy nature of the fibers. It really felts very quickly. You're not there for hours, and because this project takes a really long time, I figured core would be a really nice fiber to work with so that you're not sitting there, even though it seems like you're sitting there stabbing for hours. The body doesn't need to take as long as the legs do. So now I know that there's seams in the back, so I'm going to cover up some of those seams because, yeah, they're not, even though this is all going to be covered in yellow, I still want a nice smooth transition. It'll be easier for the yellow also. So again, I'm going to take a little bit more of that core and I'm just going to put it on to camouflage those seams and smooth it out. And as I'm doing this too, I'm keeping in mind the skin and where the legs are, because I want to see those legs pop through the skin a little bit. So I'm focusing more on stabbing in that V section so that the legs can kind of pop through a bit. So you see the outline of the legs. Again, give yourself patience. This does take a while. As you can see, I've been stabbing in real time. This hasn't been sped up in any way. It takes time to really get the look that you're looking for. So I wanted a little bit more of an indent on the sides. So I'm concentrating on really getting more of the octopus head shape indentations, making sure that I had those two legs in front of the head. It's very important because when we put the eyes on, we need to know which side we've made for our front side of the face. Just looking it over, seeing what else needs to get done. So now I'm at a point where I'm going to start to place my eyes. So I take my blue needle and on each side, so the eyes are on the side of the head, I'm going to first make a hole or an indentation of where I want my eye to be. So that's the first one. And then I use my needle to kind of go parallel to the other side. It's a good little tool, little artistic tool to so you don't have one eye too high or too low. You're just kind of like leveling where your eyes are going to be. And you're just stabbing in a circular spot so you can kind of like dig a hole where the eyeball's going to be. And I always find places to stab, so I'm constantly stabbing and shaping. All right, so now we're going to make our eyeballs. So we want to, not too much wool, but of similar amounts, of equal amounts. And then we're just going to roll it in between our hands. We want to give this a really nice roll because these are our eyeballs. So it's a little soft, so I'm going to keep rolling. And again, I'm using the core wool, the messy white wool. Much easier to work with when you're making these eyeballs and any kind of shapes. Roll it really nice and tight. One trick is to put lotion on your hands before you roll any kind of shape. I find that the slight dampness of the hands really gets those fibers together a little bit faster. Now I like to use the yellow, the shorter, the smaller needle to put the eyeballs on. You can use the blue if you wanted to, but I find it's a little easier. I usually always start to attach eyeballs or any kind of detail towards the end. I like to work the edges in first, just to make sure that I have a good adhesion. So I'm going to show you how I attach one eyeball because it is kind of a little time consuming. And then after my one eyeball, you can pause it and attach your other eyeball. But I really work the ends in first before I really start stabbing the middle because I want to get that shape. That's exactly why I get those ends in first, is so I can establish that shape. It's a lot easier to control the shape on the edge when you're attaching details. And I just keep going in until I just keep stabbing in until I'm happy with the size of the eye, the shape of the eye, and the adhesion of the eye. So that's how I know when to stop. If you want the eyes to be bigger and more bulging out, this is your project. You can make the eyes more bulgy if you want, or you can make them smaller if you want. It's totally up to you. Now, I do this little detail before I put the color on, just so that I know where my eyes are. When I put the color on in past projects first, I kind of lost a little bit of the whole area for the eye. So this is why I put the eye on before I start putting the color on. So here's my two eyes. You can pause it so you could put the other on your octopus on. But those are the two eyes. Now it's going to be easier when I lay color. And here's the color. Here's the yellow. Now I'm just taking a little piece, two little pieces, and now I'm going to just separate the fibers. This is laying down color. I like to have a very thin, almost paper thin amount of color. I put it onto my core shape, and then with my yellow, my short and small needle, I just adhere that color onto my core shape. And I'm going to be doing this throughout my color adding. I like to start on the head first and then go down into the body Now we're only putting color only on one side of the octopus. We're leaving the underbelly, the underside of the octopus, the natural white color. So keep that in mind as you are adding your color onto the octopus. And I'm working with small amounts here. I'm not taking a big glob of color and just putting it onto the octopus. I'm working slow, and I'm working small. This will help you control the color better, and it won't be a big old mess. If you work with big pieces of fiber, it tends to get very messy and confusing in a lot of ways. So piece by piece, step by step, right? So I have 2 pieces of color. Now I'm going on my 3rd piece. And this is how I'm working this entire project. Always separating, making sure that I have a nice thin, avoiding the eyeball, and just adding. Again, I'm not stabbing in my mat with this one either, because I want to get a up close video of what I'm doing so that you can see. But at this point, I don't really need the mat either. There's enough wool and core that I'm not going to stab my fingers. Nice thin. Put it on the bald spots. Cover up that white wool. Give this octopus some color. Now this is a common octopus species. The common octopus species are in the yellow light orange family. So this is going to be a nice common octopus species. And the pipe cleaner, the wire core is going to allow you to move and shape your legs. So you're going to continue putting color on the octopus all the way down into the body. I'm going to show you here how to, when you get to doing the legs, how to place the color on the top part of the leg, because we want to keep the bottom part of the leg, the underbelly of the leg, white. So you're just taking pieces of the fiber, you're thinning it out, and then you're just spreading it on the top half. And you're just going to adhere it with your felting needle by doing tiny little jabs, making sure it does not wrap around the leg, the underbelly of the leg. And you're just going to stab it all on the top, all around, to get those fibers adhered into the core of the body. And you're going to be doing this for each of the legs. Make sure you have a good grip and control of your project. Don't let it run away from you. And use those finger guards if you're not confident with your needlework. It will help when you stab. All right, you can pause this and finish putting the color on the rest of your octopus. Again, you're going to leave the underside nice and white, and quite messy actually. It's kind of messy. Now, when you're done with your color and you're back on, we're going to prepare the little suckers. Now, this is a very time-consuming project, probably one of the most time-consuming ones of this entire project. You're going to take pieces, tiny little pieces, even smaller than your eyeball, and you're going to roll them up into little BBs, all different sizes. These are going to be all of your suckers. You're going to be rolling, oh gosh, over 100, maybe 150, maybe 160 of these. So just pop on a good program, an episode of a TV program or a movie or something while you're rolling these up. You want a really good amount because we need to cover each of the 8 legs, and these go 2 by 2 on each of the legs. So very time consuming. So you're just rolling them, pre-beating them into little balls. They're going to help when you have to adhere them onto the underbelly, the under legs. So I just use my fingers and I just roll it. You can roll it in your hands too if you wanted to. But they're small enough you can just use your fingers and just give it a nice roll. Let's get a nice pile working. All right. So now we're going to attach them to the underbelly. I start at the base and I try to use the bigger of the pre rolled up balls towards the base. And again, I'm placing them 2 by 2, but I'm only stabbing in the middle of the little balls into the body. I'm not stabbing all over because these suckers, they're kind of, I don't know, cup shape in some ways. So in order to get that sort of cup shape, you're only going to stab the middle of the balls. I know it's a little hard to see in the video, but I'm just going to place that BB and then just stab in the middle. Stab it in the middle. It'll get a nice little adhesion, but the edges will remain raised so that they look like they resemble suckers. And 2 by 2, so you have one sucker on either side. And you're going to be doing this for each of the legs. And you're going to be starting right into the body with the bigger of the BBs. And each BB basically has a pair. So it's, and you're doing that all throughout, all up the leg. And as you're getting into the leg and the leg kind of tapers smaller to the edge of the arm, you can use smaller BBs or smaller of your rolled up balls of wool. Again, you're just adhering them in the middle. Just stab right in the middle. This one you can see a little bit better. You're stabbing right in the middle, and as you can see, it kind of looks like the suckers are just popping up a little bit. And do that for each of those suckers. So that seam that you might have from the skin into the leg, that's going to get covered up with the suckers. So don't even worry about that. So you're going to be doing this with each of the legs. And that's why it's so time consuming. If you run out of the pre-made little sucker balls that you made, just make a little bit more. When I first made my first octopus with the suckers, I thought, oh yeah, 50 was perfect amount of little suckers that I pre-rolled up and made. I needed at least 3 times more of that. It's just a nice little detail. I mean, you could make the octopus with no suckers on its legs and save yourself a bunch of time. However, I think the suckers really kind of bring the octopus alive. But this is your project. If you don't want to make suckers, you don't have to make suckers. It's just a nice little detail to have. Just pace yourself. It is a pretty time-consuming thing to put every single sucker on each of the legs. I'm going pretty fast. I didn't speed this up. This is in real time. This is how fast I normally work. And again, I would be definitely putting these suckers on, stabbing with the mat underneath and not in the air, like I'm showing you in the video. I'm doing this so I can show you a lot closer, since these little suckers are pretty small. So again, you're going to do this all the way up the leg and to every single leg that you have. You can pause it here and continue on your suckers. When you're done with your suckers, then you can watch the video, put it back on. We're going to make the little eyes now. So very small amount of black, and I just make little tiny ovals. Little teeny tiny ovals. Roll it up into my fingers again. They should be around the same size. If they're not, just grab another piece, a little tiny piece of wool, and add it on to. You're just rolling it between your fingers so that you can even up. Again, you want the 2 slits to be around the same size, and you're going to put them right onto the eyeball. So just pick it up. And the eyes are a little bit more rectangular than oval, but you can kind of shape it once you get those eyes in there. Now, putting these tiny little details is more of a specific jab than a constant stab. So I'm just kind of driving the fibers into the eyeball, and then I can kind of shape it into the rectangular shape that octopus have. So this is their, I guess, their iris part. So it's just deliberate jabs of where, and once I do, then I can kind of do more of a controlled stab. They're a little tricky, so just be patient. Controlled jab so that it can really, it's not easy, but with patience you can get it in there. And then just make sure that they're kind of the same distance, the same level in the eyeball. And if it's not, then just move the little piece of wool around in the eye until you get it where you want it. And again, it's a little bit more rectangular than it is oval. If it comes out oval, it comes out oval. But try to go for more of a rectangular. Yep. And I'm just kind of giving it a quick little jab so that it's really in there. Sorry. There we go. Oh, there we go. There it is. So he's all pretty much done. So I'm just going to kind of give a final little stab a final little shape, and then he's pretty much done. And because he's got that little pipe cleaner wire, you can move him and shape him however you want. You are all done. Thank you so much.